Welcome listeners to Off the Cuff with Namrita. Hope you're having a wonderful Sunday morning here. And today the voice I'm going to amplify is beautiful, it's human and it's powerful. So do listen to the show, intently I'll say. And, I read somewhere that the first mentions of the third sex are found in ancient texts such as the Mahabharata and the Kama Sutra, meaning the hijra have existed in some form or the other since antiquity. And Anjali Rimi, my guest today, Anjali uses the pronouns she and they. She is San Francisco Bay Area based immigrant brown woman of transgender, kinnar Southasian Indian origin with roots in India. She blossomed in Canada and is currently staying in the United States. Anjali is the president and co-founder of America's only transgender-led, transgender-centering South Asian queer organization, Parivar Bay Area. And, Parivar Bay Area focuses on transgender, intersectional unity and equity by building coalition focused on immigrant justice and queer QTAPI. We just talked about
trans Asian
Pacific Islanders visibility, and she is Parivar Bay Area's president, like I said, and she's doing wonderful work for the trans and hijra community, not just here but also in India. So Anjali, welcome to my show.
Thank you, Namrita. Thank you for having us. Namaskar sabko.
And we have a special guest here today. Her mom Gauri has joined.
Namaste.
बहुत आपका धन्यवाद आने का. And I just feel so humbled to have you here. You are such a proud and mom here, sitting and giving your child the moral support needed, and that is just so heartwarming to see. So Anjali, I know Parivar means family, right? And the perception that people have about the trans community is that they don't have any family, they are outcasts and unwanted with no means to earn a living. All they do is clap. Sorry for being so harsh, but that is what the perception most people grew up with. So can you tell me about your journey and your childhood and your gender journey, I'll say.
Thank you, Namrita. I want to, say that what we know of what the hijras and the trans is what we've been conditioned to believe.
Very true.
And that is primarily because of colonization. While I share my story here, there are many in our community who are proudly living their lives. And I cannot emphasize enough on saying that transgender hijra people have the largest families that we weave together. These are our chosen families. And we live with them through our struggles and through our pains. But mine was very different. Growing up in a lower middle class home in India, where food was tight and education was the way to get yourself to be better in your life.
Yes, yeah.
तो ऐसा समय था जब भारत में there was very little understanding of the trans kinnar hijra existence because we had forgotten about it. क्योंकि आपने जैसे से कहा, it was being referenced in Kama Sutra, Mahabharata, and there's so many depictions of the trans identity in mythology.
Yes.
And in caves and across all religions that exist on the Indic land.
Yeah.
But somewhere we forgot it, and that came to me at a personal level where even though I expressed to my family who I was at a very young age, about 11 or so, I didn't feel that I was in the right body. I was in the right mind, but that's what is called gender dysphoria. And that's what is, the struggle of our existence when we are what we say born in the wrong body. And I really thought by the age of 14 or 15, I would just blossom like every other girl. and life would be fine.
Yeah.
You know, as expected, a woman and a man and the gender binary, it should be fine. But then, you know, I think society depicted it to be a certain way, and then my trials and tribulations started then. And it didn't feel like I should be leaving India to just live my life in an authentic way. But circumstances were pretty harsh, and the impact of social shaming and the trauma, all of that pushed me to find, you know, greater pastures, I would say, in America, in Canada, to like really bring myself to being fully in existence. And so while I recognized and realized who I was at the age of 11, it wasn't until I was 26 that I was able to access proper health care, proper mental health support, proper support in society, proper ability to hold my job down and fully transition to present myself in the gender that I am, which is that of a woman, a trans woman.
So that 10-year gap, or, you know, more than that, 15-year gap must be difficult, I'm sure. Yeah.
It was one of the toughest times, but that informs me on what I see today. No doubt society has come long ways, but the work that we are doing at Parivar, or me simply existing, or a kinnar who is trying to make a life in the Bay Area that's just come from India as an asylee, it's still there. The struggle is still there, especially because this was the time when I was very young. I did not know where to go to, and coming to America, leaving everybody behind,
not easy.
It was very difficult because I was a victim of other things that I didn't realize, like racism. I didn't know it existed. I didn't know that anti-Asian hate existed. I came to this country exactly 1 month before 9/11. So I definitely, and I landed in a space that was less conservative. So it was really hard. But I will also say that those were the times that were the formative years of my, you know, existing in society, pushing the boundaries and telling folks at my work that I will show up as myself one day, and you have to accept that.
That takes courage and a lot of guts, and you know, to live authentically. That's all, you know, we can learn from you. And I have auntie here, her mom over there. Auntie, मेरा question आपसे यही है कि, you know, tell me as a mother, how did you feel when Anjali, you know, came out as a trans woman, and how was the family's reaction? Because just you being here shows that, you know, Anjali has love of a family, so that means a lot to her, and you know. तो आप बताइए आपका कैसा था रिएक्शन?
पहले तो हमारे को भी पूरा दर्द हुआ था, hurt myself. This is a change I don't know in my life. This is the first time I'm facing that my child is changing boy to girl. That very much pain for me, and it's take a lot of time to digest it.
बिल्कुल.
Yes. After that, gradually I used to think about her, her problems and difficulties, what she wants, and then okay, as a mother I have to support her, and after that with her affection I have fully changed. Now no regrets. I am proud of my daughter. Yes.
So happy to know. And you know, तभी हम कहते हैं माँ का दर्जा बिल्कुल भगवान के दर्जे के बराबर होता है. And what I heard was that she came all by herself, you know, and you didn't know, to meet you in Canada. How did that go? Auntie, aap aa gaye the. Dekho, you know, I can well imagine like a you know, lady that must be like, yeah.
No, it was very, I mean, I'm laughing today, but we had to do a whole skit because at that time, my dad was not on board. He was very much against, you know, any of my existence in this way. So we had to come up with a story that I was deathly ill.
Okay.
And, you know, I think she barely got a passport 1 or 2 months before that. And we had to really submit for her visa and all that. And all my documents had changed at this point because, you know, I tried to transition here in the Bay Area, and that didn't work out, and I got kicked out of my job. That's a whole other story, that I was homeless, and I ended up leaving the country and having to go to Canada to get refugee status there, and become a person of stateless identity. But then, you know, because I was able to transition there so quickly, I changed all my documents. So here we're applying for her visa, and all my documents have changed, and they're all in my, you know, my current legal name. And so, you know, it was quite the architecture work to make sure my dad didn't see all that, or didn't stop her seeing all that. And then she came over, and she was a deer in the headlights, you know, getting on a plane and getting here. And then to see me fully transition, because she knew this is who I am, but she never thought this was possible.
I know.
Because her greatest fear was that I would be like my siblings, who are relegated to clapping on the trains and asking for badai and chella and living that life, you know, having to do sex work to survive. And so to see her see me like this at the airport was like a moment that I will never forget. It was snowing like crazy in Toronto, Pearson Airport in Toronto, and here she comes out, and she's like looking at me and trying to just understand if this is real and this has all happened and her child is okay.
Absolutely. I think the fear that parents go through is, what will happen to my child now when you transgress from you know, the norms of society, which are so restrictive, I'll say. So now we come to Parivar. Tell me more about Parivar. You know, how are you helping the trans community in India and here? And are things getting better socially in India?
You know, when I talk about Parivar, I really emphasize the fact that we are looking to build the largest South Asian queer trans family. Because Parivar means family in a few Indian languages. And for us at Parivar, it is a radical movement that really emanated from a grassroots need to really center transgender folks who are identifying with the Womenx identity, and really go beyond all those divisions of national origin, religion, caste, class, everything, immigration status, everything that divides us up further as marginalized folks. And I will say things have improved drastically since when I lived in India, because I ended up going back to India almost after 15 years after leaving it. But at Parivar, I think our real goal is to tell the stories and uplift those that are like, you know, some of my sisters who I will not name here, but have come through the southern border of this country and are trying to build a livelihood and trying to get their asylum. Or someone who has seen the work we're doing and the community we are building and have actually flown out of another part of the country and are here now, and we're supporting them build their lives. It's their stories, it's their journeys that we want to uplift and make sure that they have the support. We are definitely not trying to get all fun and parties. That's not necessarily the theme that we're aiming for. We want to make sure that our programs continue, where we are fighting for trans economic justice, trans inclusion, and trans equity when it comes to healthcare, and being able to be included, most importantly, in the South Asian, Indo-Caribbean, Indian spaces, where I can begin to tell you the stories of my own individual experience and the stories we hear and we see every single day, where the South Asian diaspora, the large Indian community, or the Indo-Caribbean community, or the various Indian South Asian communities right here in the Bay Area that do not see us, that do not welcome us.
Wow, yeah. Because like you're saying, that stigma still exists somewhere, where the British, criminalized the hijra community, and you started living in your own neighborhoods and silos, and it still exists somehow, which is sad. But I see a lot of progress in the laws that are being implemented now in India. Yeah, but you talked about the South Asian diaspora. I mean, we are the model minority and the privileged. So, like, how do you, you said any kind of thing that you want to share. Do they even recognize you as a, as community? How is that kind of a relationship?
I think it's very transactional.
Oh.
And that is because there is the legacy and the history that our ancestors have left, where we are still invited when there is a death or a birth in your family. We're still invited to come onto the trains, do our part and leave. And that is where it gets really problematic of putting a stamp of the third gender on us. Because you're almost saying that we cannot exist as men or women, but we have to be in a third gender, which is not even close to non-binary, because non-binary is still at a different space and a level of awareness. But when you allocate somebody the third gender, you're relegating them, you're marginalizing them further. And so, my own experience of not just in the South Asian communities, and when I say South Asian, I'm being most inclusive of including everybody who comes from that Indic clan, whether that country today is Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bangladesh, but also those that have been put on ships and sent across the world, whether it's Africa, the Caribbean islands, Europe. This is all the South Asian diaspora, and we are everywhere. Wherever South Asians are, South Asian transgender queer people are, we are part of the society. But how many of us truly get the support at home from our parents and families? And when we step out, wearing our lipstick for the first time, or binding our chest if you're a trans man for the first time, from the greater society, because there's so many levels of atrocities that happen. You're already dealing with being a brown person, a person of color in a very white supremacist society and spaces. And on top of that, you also have to fight the homophobia and the transphobia. So, and then it only gets amplified so much more because of the immigrant experience and the immigrant mindset that many South Asians live with, which is, I went through this, I'm not going to help somebody else, I'm here to make money and drive my career. And we get so involved in that material existence that somebody who is struggling to make ends meet, we quickly judge them. Oh, why didn't you go to school? Why didn't you study? Why didn't you get a job? Well,
they don't understand the...
Exactly, they don't understand the challenge to access.
Yes.
And I'm a great exception to that, I had a mother who stood by me, sold her jewelry, got me on a plane and got me out of the country. And I was able to make something out of myself, get educated, hold an MBA, work in corporate. But the entire time I did all that, I was in majority in the closet. Nobody knew I was a transgender woman. Had they known that, I think I would have been just like most of my siblings. So, and I think the biggest struggle of the South Asian community is the diversity that we exist in, that comes with our diaspora. But the hypocrisy is that we are told that there's only two genders. All of this colonized mindset still prevails, and then it ends up causing this kind of uninvited guests of our community into many of these spaces. So it's a very dichotomous situation. We've got folks in the most marginalized hijra, kinnar, transgender community right here in the Bay Area and in America that are very much who we are. We can't hide our identity. And we are categorically said, no, you're not welcome, or you can come, conditionally leave. And then there's the other side of our community that are potentially living with valid work visas, are working in big positions in tech or other spaces, but they're not out.
Very true. Okay.
And they're not integrated into any community because they have to live in the fear of being outed or have to fight homophobia, transphobia, or even actually end up losing entirety of their career.
Yeah. And like you said, you also lived in a stealth mode.
I did.
You had
Shosha is a creative Indian restaurant located in the heart of Silicon Valley. Shosha is a woman-owned business that serves traditional Indian flavors assimilated with molecular gastronomy techniques. The best Indian bar with happy hours in the Bay Area serves handcrafted drinks inspired by flavors from India with modern craft cocktails that are presented in unique ways. Shosha is a modern take on traditional Indian cuisine. We specialize in corporate luncheon, anniversary celebrations, birthday parties, and catering. Do check us out for a memorable modern Indian dining experience. Shosha is located at 141 South Murphy Avenue in Sunnyvale, California.